In today's video, we're going to be talking about spring detox and the herbs that can help support our body by helping to clear out any excess fluids, toxins, or things that otherwise just slow us down in the spring. Today, I'll be discussing 4 herbs that are powerhouses to detoxify the systems in our body and help us feel fresh and light for the spring season. So grab a cup of something nice and let's get into the video. Hi, and welcome back to the Apothecary. My name is Jessica if you are new here, and if you are returning, thank you for being here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more informative videos about herbalism and gardening. Before we talk about the specific herbs that are used for detox, we need to first understand what spring detox actually is and why it's important. During the winter, our bodies are more sedentary. There is a feeling of coldness in the air that slows us down, slows our circulation, slows our digestion, and we just don't feel like eating, cold salads every day or smoothies or even really getting in as much exercise as we normally do in the warmer months. So there is this feeling of sluggishness, of coldness, of dampness, and an overall heaviness that we experience during the winter. Now, when we start to transition into spring, our body starts to wake up. We start to feel a little bit more active. We start to feel the changes in the season. And in this time period, often people will get sick. It's often because of the temperatures that are starting to shift and change, which actually does lower our immune system, as well as the fact that we are sticking to the same rhythms and routines as we did in winter, when we really should be shifting that into more spring diets and activity levels. Our bodies are also devoid of many nutrients in the spring because in the winter months we tend to stick to more easily attainable foods like prepackaged foods, canned foods, and there may not be as much of an opportunity to go to something like a farmer's market or, of course, to grow our own produce because we are indoors and things are not really growing, at least if you're in the northern hemisphere. So it can be harder to find fresh, available produce to eat during the winter months. So in the springtime, when things are starting to actually come alive again, that's when our body is really craving greens. It's also important to understand what these herbs are actually doing for our bodies. They're not magically correcting everything in our body that is an imbalance. However, these herbs can support and nourish our bodies in order to help us to come back to rhythm and equilibrium. So the channels in which these herbs are working are our lymph and lymph nodes, our digestive tract, and our liver, kidneys, and gallbladder. These are the areas that we can often find are most impacted during the winter months because these systems are slowed down, they are overburdened, or just imbalanced. Another thing that's important to understand is that most of these herbs actually return this time of year, meaning that when you look outside, you go outside, these herbs are starting to push through the soil and to be renewed for the spring. And in more ancient times, before the ability to find food and herbs online there was this time period in which people would go outside and start harvesting these early spring greens for their nourishment and consumption. So the first herb that we're going to talk about is stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is one of my favorite nutritive herbs. It is a powerhouse of minerals, and it is extremely high in protein, which is something that we don't often associate with green leafy herbs, but it is very high in protein, many other minerals like iron. So if you are struggling with, for example, anemia or iron deficiency, this herb is really a great one to start with during this season. And you can find it fresh if you do forage, or if you have land to where you have herbs that come up naturally in the forest floor. You can find stinging nettle and identify that pretty easily, as it has very prickly stems and leaves that will sting you. You can take this herb and you can put it into many different recipes. You can make pesto out of it. You can put it into soup. You can substitute it for spinach. And this is what people often did. Many people have stories of their grandparents, harvesting nettle and making it into tea. And that's because of the richness that this plant has within it to nourish our depleted bodies with minerals and make us feel more supported internally, as well as help our system to be a bit more balanced. Now, if you are planning on harvesting stinging nettle for yourself, just know that it is something that will sting you unless you wear heavy gloves. Now, there are some ways to harvest it without stinging you by crushing the leaves in a certain way to allow for the juice to negate that sting, but it's a bit tricky. So if you're just starting out, you've never worked with this herb before, it may be best just to wear a heavy set of gardening gloves or something of that nature, one that's also covering your forearms, and to harvest the tops of the herbs in that way. It is best to harvest nettle in the early spring before the plant has matured. Now, what nettle does, other than being a nourishing tonic, is it flushes out toxins through our urine. So it is a diuretic as well as a nutritive plant, and it helps to clear and stimulate our kidneys as well as our skin by helping us to sweat a little, helping us to push the toxins through our body, through our urinary tract. Stinging nettle, or Urtica dioica, boasts a full range of nutritious vitamins and minerals that our body really needs: calcium, magnesium, iron, silica, and potassium. It also contains vitamins A, C, K, and B. And like many other herbs, it also contains antioxidants, which of course we all love and need. Now, this herb is similar to spinach in the way that it looks when it's cooked, but it does have a slightly different flavor. I would say it has more of a light seaweed kind of flavor, maybe not as overpowering as seaweed, but of course it's depending on how you use it. You can add it to your cooking, which is great because you're consuming the whole plant, but it's also kind of difficult to find a lot of fresh nettle to do something like that with. So if you don't have a field of nettle available to you, what you can do is you can get a tincture of the plant and take that, or you can just make a tea. You can take the dried herb and you can put it into a jar or a teapot, and you can let that steep. Now, the longer the better. There is another way to steep where you can actually steep it more overnight, and that is a herbal infusion, and that would be much better with nettle, as that way you could drink it in the morning and the water will have taken all of those nutrients out of the water, and you can consume it then, and it will really replenish your body. But again, taste is a little bit on the the seaweed side. So if you think that you may not like it that way, you can make a shorter tea, which is just steeping it for 15 minutes in some boiling water, or you can try it in the other ways that I mentioned. Now, the next herb that I'm going to talk about is dandelion, which most of us know that it's spring when we see those beautiful yellow flowers popping up all over the lawn or in a field somewhere. Now, with dandelion, you don't want to actually collect any of the flowers that are on lawns that have been treated chemically, or even in neighborhoods that have been treated chemically. You want to make sure you have a nice, clean place to harvest them if you are doing so. And if you aren't, you can also find dandelion greens in the store, generally in the grocery store in the produce section. So the beauty about dandelion flower, leaf, and root is that it is incredibly detoxifying for the body. Each part of the plant, so the entire plant, is beneficial for the body. It's a gentle stimulant for our liver, our gallbladder, and our kidneys. Dandelion is a bitter herb, meaning that it helps our body to create bile in the liver, which then helps to detoxify our body from the liver out. Like nettle, it also does work on the kidneys as well by flushing the toxins through the urinary tract. Dandelion is an alterative, meaning that it helps our body to eliminate harmful toxins and also supports the function of those organs and our metabolism. Dandelion root also contains inulin, which helps us to clear our mucosa lining in our intestines and our gut. So it does assist with leaky gut. But even by consuming the dandelion greens that grow underneath the flower and the stem, we can really improve our digestion because the bitterness of the leaves itself stimulates the bile, which allows our body to just flow much more efficiently with our digestion. And this is really important because, as I mentioned, over the winter months, our digestion slows down. So this really helps to increase the ability to move food throughout our body. Now with dandelion, I love to eat the fresh leafy greens that the dandelion produces, but you can also, again, make tea from the dandelion. Generally, this is done with the root. You would get the dried root and you can make a tea from that by, again, just pouring boiling water over it and letting it steep for about 15 minutes and then drinking that maybe 1 or 2 cups a day. Dandelion is very gentle. It's a gentle stimulant for our body, and it is something that is also a food, so it's not going to be overpowering. The next herb is cleavers. Now, this is one that's kind of a fun herb to try to forage, as if you know the herb, you'll know that it has sticky hairs that cover the plant. So if you throw it on someone, it'll stick to your clothes or their clothes, and it will kind of produce that clingy effect. Cleavers is a lymphagogue, meaning that it increases the flow of lymph throughout our body and helps our lymph nodes to really capture toxins and to work appropriately. So it's really detoxifying us from many different channels because it's also one that, again, is really efficient at flushing things out of our urine. So it's helpful as a way to detox our body and to really awaken the channels of elimination. And what cleavers also does so well is really helps to manage water retention in our body. So if you're finding yourself having swollen hands and things like that, and it's not related to any other medical concern, it may just be that you're holding a lot of water. So cleavers can help to, as a diuretic, flush that out of the kidneys and also help you to lose some of that water weight. Cleavers is also incredibly anti-inflammatory. So again, really helping to soothe and calm tissues that may have redness, irritation. Now, cleavers is an herb that is best used when fresh, but again, it may be hard if you don't forage for your own herbs or have access to them fresh. There are many dried herbs available online that you can purchase a tincture. You can also just make a tea from the dried herbs, but if you find it fresh, it's a really great one to actually juice. So you can put it in your juicer and make kind of a smoothie out of it. And the last herb is burdock root. Now, burdock root is very beneficial for the gut microbes. It really helps us to, again, seal the lining of the gut to help with leaky gut syndrome, as that inulin really helps to act as a prebiotic and helps to create healthy flora in our intestines. But burdock root breaks down toxins in the body. It's very detoxifying. It can be used as a blood cleanser, which it has been named because it helps the kidney to flush out the toxins in our body and is said to then be able to clean the blood. Burdock is really excellent also for your skin, your hair, and your overall health of these different areas. So if you have a lot of breakouts that may be gut related, this is a fantastic one to use for that, as it can help to clear whatever is causing those breakouts to happen. If it is from digestion, as this is helping to improve digestion and clear those channels. You can use the tincture, which is the easiest way to really use burdock. And this is a tincture that I made myself. I grew the plant for 2 years, and at the early onset of year 2, harvested the root and made it into this tincture. Now, if you don't want to go through all of that, you can purchase the pre-made tincture that I have in my shop, or you can purchase just the dried root online, and you can use it that way as a tea or create a tincture from that. Now, when it comes to choosing an herb, try to choose one based on your specific needs. So you wouldn't want to take all of these herbs for your spring detox. You could use maybe 2 of the herbs at most, but I would focus on what your body needs the most. You know, where is your body having the most imbalance? Is it through digestion? Is it through your skin? Is it through your urinary system? So really just considering what your body needs at this time of year can help you make that decision, as well as the availability of these herbs near you or online. And as always, make sure that you are talking to your doctor about any herb regimens that you are about to start, to make sure that it's not going to be an issue with any medications that you are taking. And finally, I just want to add that you do not need to take any of these to detox your body. Your body does have the ability to detox itself, but often there are things in our environment or in our routines that can cause imbalance, and that's when these herbs really shine, is when there is an imbalance. You can help to detoxify that and then start on a healthier regimen after that will improve your gut health and your elimination channels. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more herbalism and gardening content, and I will see all of you very, very soon.